Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices like So Clover. So Clover is a word-based cooperative game for 3 to 6 players where each player is going to get one of these clovers with some random cards on them, and you're trying to link together on each of these clovers the 2 words that are closest to it. So each player will secretly write the words they're linking, like Leonardo for statue and brush, like Leonardo da Vinci's a painter and they have statues of him. Games for travel and puzzles, because games go with both of those. Cougar and oil, Mercury Cougar is a car and you put oil in a car. Vampire and turtle, blooded. Blood for the vampire, and turtles are cold-blooded. So maybe that happens. So we try to get everyone to guess which one is which card goes where, and how it is oriented. Once everyone's done, each player's gonna get a 5th card that they'll randomly shuffle in with theirs. Everyone sees what we've written and the 5 cards, and everyone has to collaboratively figure out together which card goes where. The more you get, the more points you get, and you do this for every player. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. So Clover has unique components, has a low barrier of entry, which is great. I love how you're writing right on the clovers. The production of this game is great. The conversations is really what this game's about, helping other players see different connections that they don't see and seeing the aha moment as players collaboratively work together. I love that you're adding one random card in. It really throws a monkey wrench to the strategy of the person that made the clues. And I like that you're getting a second try for less points and giving you some hints as to you're on the right track. This game is quick, but very thinky. It even works well with 2, even though the box says it only works with 3 or more. This is more like code names than just 1 because it requires a lot more thought. Now on the negative side of things, it's even more of an activity than just 1 because there's no even scale about how well you did. They should have included shields to keep your answers secret, and some might not like the thinkiness of giving these clues. Now I like this better than just 1 because I like the really thinkiness of it, but it's probably better suited for a more general audience, but gamers will love this one too. It's a fantastic special party game on the tails of just 1, and it got a Saxophone Serenade. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, it's all about the clovers, because we're going to be trying to find links between 2 different words on a clover, writing it down and hoping that other players can figure out what the heck we're talking about. Today we're looking at So Clover. This is from Repos Production. This is sort of a party game. Let's show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. In So Clover, each player is going to get their own clover and 4 random cards, and they're going to be oriented in a random way. Now, nobody else can see this except this player. And they're going to secretly try to come up with a word, a single word, that links these 2 words together, and they'll write it right with this dry erase marker right here. They'll do the same for the other 3 sides. How do you link coffee and fishing, cushion and stone, turtle and vampire, and brush and shed? That's a tough thing to do. We're going to actually play along with this because what's going to happen is everyone is going to do this, and once they're done, we'll take one of these at a time, and all other players are trying to work together and talk about which card goes where because they're going to be taken off this. Let's give you a chance to guess. We're going to play. I'm going to get some cards, and then we're going to basically have you be the guessers. Now again, everybody's going to have their own clover and 4 cards. They're basically going to write the word, that single word that links those 2 together. Then they're going to take those off and they'll get one random one. So now you see 5 here. Once everyone's done, one at a time, each player is going to flip their clover over, show what it is, and have the 5 cards. Now remember, one of these are random, and I didn't know what that was before I made my words. So my 4 words are contractor, band-aid, thunderstorm, ketchup. Now, your job is to take these cards and figure out which of the 4 or the 5 go on here and which orientation do they go. So, feel free to pause right here. You're going to take probably a few minutes, and if you're watching it with other people, talk about it because this is the main part of the game is players talking and seeing and connecting things that you didn't necessarily see and figuring out which card goes where. So, when you're ready, you're going to pause it right after this, and when you're ready, hit play because I'm going to show you what may have happened. Okay, you ready? How'd you do? Well, actually, this isn't the correct answer, but this is what might happen. For example, it might have been yellow mustard, and someone goes, yeah, oh, yellow mustard, they put ketchup here. That kind of makes sense. This is a contractor. Maybe it was an apprentice contractor, and they were building a shower. Maybe the Band-Aid, you know what? Maybe you got cut with a knife, and you need to do this. And maybe you're in football or something like that, hockey, and you bleed when you get hit. Maybe you need a Band-Aid for that. Thunderstorm. Maybe it was like very strong, like a strong storm, and maybe we didn't know really what mouse was, but we really were confident that yellow and mustard were together. So maybe this was just sort of like, well, they definitely would get this one, but this one, we don't really know. There's not a great tie. And a lot of times this is what happens is you'll find some really great ties and you'll find some that don't really match. Well, by the way, this isn't correct. So what would happen is I would take off any of the ones that were not correct. And it's not correct if it's not in the exact right spot and the right orientation. So in this case, I would have taken those 3 off and been like, this is the only one that's actually correct. Now, if we had gotten all those right on the first try, we would have gotten 4 points for getting all 4, plus a 2-point bonus for getting on our first try. Now, everyone else, again, gets to try one more time now that we know how we did to try to place the rest of these. So now seeing this little hint, pause it again, talk through it, and see if you can get it right. All right, here is the correct answer. Did you get it? I know you're gonna think I'm crazy. Well, earth and shower definitely is thunderstorm. This was the strongest connection I had. So that was that one. Ketchup was with mustard and utensil, and it kind of makes sense, especially if this one, you knew this one was the greatest one. Ketchup and mustard and utensil kind of go together. Contractor. Well, contractors do put in tile floors in the bathroom and things like that. And contractors are different levels. Sometimes they're journeyman, sometimes they're apprentice, sometimes they're master. And so those two sort of go together. This, and again, this is part of the game, is a lot of times you're gonna find more than one sometimes that are really hard to do. This one was really hard. How do I put toilet and bite together? I didn't quite know what to do, so I did Band-Aid only because I felt like since this was my best one, you'd probably put this here and then not worry too much about this. But in doing this one, maybe you weren't quite sure, but bite and Band-Aid go together, and tile and contractor. But there was also a different, as you saw, that, different one that got thrown in. I didn't know what, right? Contractor could have gone with shower. Contractor could have, things like that. But I figure bite with Band-Aid was good enough. And sometimes, maybe you're fixing the toilet and you cut yourself, you need to put a Band-Aid on. Again, that was a terrible link, but if you see all the other ones, you can see why I start with my best and work my way around and try best I can. And a lot of times there's gonna be 1 or 2 of these that aren't great links, but you gotta go with what you think is the best first and work your way through. And that's pretty much how it works. So in this case, if we got all these right, we'd get 4 points because it was our second try. If maybe we just got these 3, we'd get 3 points, 1 for each. That's it. Everyone else would do it with their clovers in successive order, and you'd add up all the points. There's no real scoring in this game. You just put the date and the count and the amount of players and your score. That's pretty much it. You just keep track of it. It's really just an activity. Unlike Just One, where there's verbs or sentences of how well you did, this doesn't have that. You just put it in there. So it really is just an activity, but it is darn fun. Now, Repos Production is the company that came out with Just One, that won the Spiel des Jahres. And as soon as I played Just One, I was one of the first to review it, and I said, this is a special game. I feel the same about this. This game is super special, and because it's a party game, and because it's in the same size box, and because it's the same price range, and because it's the same publisher, at the end, I'm going to be comparing and contrasting this with Just One in just a moment. But first of all, let's talk about this game in a vacuum. This game has a low barrier of entry. I love that. You can teach this to anyone. Hey, you're gonna get these cards, just right here, the best single word that you can link between these. That's it. We'll talk about the rest later. Then once they're done, I'll talk about where they go. You can teach this game to anyone. It's very easy to get going, and that's what you really want in a party game. Now, I like the fact that these are sort of clovers and that you're writing directly right on them with the dry erase markers. And it's funny because this game, I don't know if it was subliminal, but the whole game especially the first handful of times I was playing this, I kept saying, gosh, this game's clever. Gosh, this game's clever. And I don't know if it was because subliminally I knew the game was called Clover, but it was the first sort of descriptive adjective I thought about while I was playing this game. And the production of this game is clever as well. It just all fits. Now, The game is really about the conversations. So you're conversing with others and you're trying to help other people see things in a different light. Like, oh, I think it's this goes with this and this goes with this. And you're like, no, look, this could go with this because this goes with that and this and this. And this, now this makes this, that, and that could be, and you're like, oh. And that's really the aha moment in this game, the conversations with other players. And it really makes this game stand out from others. Also, adding one random into the mix throws a monkey wrench in everything because you could have thought of something good and then some card comes in that's somewhat confusing, or not confusing, but really confuses your answers with the other ones, or maybe there's a better answer on that card. Really kind of takes back to another game called Belrati, which Repos now has the license for, is probably going to put out at some point for us, where you put in a random thing that you didn't know beforehand and it kind of throws a monkey wrench. That is a brilliant thing here, because the game's already a little bit hard enough, and when you throw that in, it really messes with things because you're not really sure which of the 4 cards to use, which one was not the one that was included, and it really just adds another level of fun here. It really does. I like that you get a second try, so you're trying to win it all for 6 points and get it right first try. Doesn't often happen, but you get to figure out, you get some clues and you get a second try, and I like that. If you get it all a second try, you still get 4 points. You won't get the total 6, but you get 4. That's fun. Getting a second chance and seeing which things we got right to give you clues for the next thing is also another great design choice here. It works really well. This game is quick, but it's very thinky. When you're thinking of those words, it's like sometimes you're just in deep thought trying to think of the best way to link these 2 words together. And it's really about trying to figure out where are my best, as I showed you in the overview, where are my best links and where are the worst ones that they might sort of be able to back into because they realize which ones are the best. And that's sort of like a heuristic in this game that works really well. This game also, it's only for 6 players, but the game actually does work well with 2. I don't know why they didn't put 2 in the box, probably because, again, the conversation is really what this game's about. But the game works really well with 2, where you're just thinking of the word. That part of the game is exactly the same. And then instead of having someone to talk with, you're just thinking through it yourself. And the 2 players can actually be thinking through the answers and stuff and putting them together at the same time. And then you're both done and you go through. The game works fantastically with 2. So don't be afraid that it says 3 players. It's great. Now, I'd say, speaking of Just One, this game is actually more like Codenames than Just One. Because Just One is light. You're thinking of a word. Sure, you're trying to be clever. But you're trying to think of a word that no one else will think, but will point them there. But it's still pretty light. Where in Codenames, it's like mind-bending sometimes. You're like, oh, how do I get these 3 things into one word? There's that, oh, I can go down this way. And you're thinking, and your brain is just like, you can feel it chugging along. This game is more like that than like Just One. It's much more thinking because everyone is doing is thinking those words on their Clover. So it's not like in Codenames where you can just put someone on the other side of the table. They don't have to worry about making those connections. Everyone does it here. And so it's much more like Codenames than Just One. Now on the negative side of things, this is definitely more of an activity than Just One is, or even just as a game. Because even in Just One, you would get to a certain threshold and be like, hey, you did pretty good, try again. This one has nothing. You just literally write it in a ledger. And I get that probably they did that because there's different scoring thresholds and it's always going to change depending on player count. But I don't see why they didn't just at least have a table, say, here's a player count, here's how many points you got, here's your rating. Again, it doesn't really matter because nobody cares about the ratings anyway, but it's even more of a activity than a game than Just One was. I wish they should have included some cute Clover shields to cover your cards, because as you're trying to figure things out, you're spinning your thing around, you're looking, you're writing down your cards that everyone can see. You kind of have to like hold your hands over there. It's a little fiddly in that regard. They should have gave everyone a small little shield to just put around their Clover. That was an oversight there. Also, some might not like the amount of thinkiness that you need to give clues. And as I sort of mentioned a little bit before, but this game can be pretty darn thinky. Personally, I like this one better than Just One because of the thinkiness, because of how much I like the Codenames aspect of trying to come up with that perfect clue. But Just One is probably going to be better for sort of general party audiences because it's less stressful, it's less thinky, and it's still just as fun. So that should give you enough to figure out which one is right for you. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships through board games, by helping you find the next one you love. But before we go, because this game's so great, I'm keeping it in my gaming library, kicking something else out. So it's getting a Saxophone Serenade. Here we go. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.